Okay, welcome back to Understanding the Basics. This is part 2. Today we're going to learn how to cut holes and add things to existing shapes. Okay, so I'm pretty much picking up where I left off. We have a cube, we have a cylinder. We made these in the last video. Okay, so the cool thing about Onshape is that not only can we draw things draw things on a plane, on a 2D plane, and then stretch them into a third dimension, we can also draw on the planes of existing faces. So you'll notice if I hover my mouse over the different sides of these rectangles, of the cube, it does light up. Each one of those planes is an area which I can draw and essentially cut or mold the shape into whatever I want it to be. Now you can similarly do this with the cylinder as well, but it is limited to flat surfaces. So I can draw, for example, on the top of this cylinder, but I can't draw on the side of it because that is a rounded surface. Okay, so any flat surface can be drawn on. Essentially, it's got to be a 2D surface to draw on it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say we wanted to draw, maybe we want this to be a rectangle with a bit of a handle coming out the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new sketch, but instead of clicking one of these 3 planes that we did last time in the last video, we're going to click one of the planes that are part of the cube. So for this one here, I'm going to click on the top plane, and we're going to use the actual center point rectangle. So this rectangle is a rectangle that you draw out from the center of the rectangle to the corner. So it's actually in the second drop down menu, so you can go ahead and click that one. And we're actually going to find the center of this cube. Now I'm actually going to arrange my screen this time. Last time I didn't do this, but this time I'm going to arrange my screen so I'm looking straight on the top angle of the cube here. Okay, you'll notice again it's got sketch 3 around the area that I'm drawing on. Now the interesting and cool thing about Onshape is it will also mark the center of every line that it's drawn. Okay, so if I am to put my cursor over this line, for example, you'll notice it lights up yellow. If I drag my cursor moving along the line and trying to find the center, you'll see when I get to the center, I get this box pop up. Okay, so I can actually draw something now from that point. Okay, but I can actually move my cursor downwards as well, and notice this dotted line. This dotted line is exactly perpendicular with that center point of that edge there. So if I find the middle of that edge and then I draw a line downwards, you can see if I follow carefully downwards, you can move a little bit side to side, but if you move too much side to side, you lose it. I can move all the way down and it's going to come all the way to the other side. Okay. Now if I was to do that and then actually do it on this edge as well, find the middle of this line, move across to the center, you'll notice it lines up with the last one that I did as well. So essentially I've just moved it to that center, and I move it to another center, and then I draw down and you'll notice it snaps onto that other center there. So that is actually the center point of our cube. So I can actually click down now from that center point, and you'll notice it gives those little circles just here and here, little circles from those marking points. So it's essentially using those points as a point of reference for this rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to make my rectangle now, and I'm going to decide, okay, I don't really know how big I want it just yet. I'm just going to click randomly at here, but the size that I'm going to want to make it, I'm going to make it a 20, enter, by 20, enter, rectangle. Okay, so I've made a square, as 20 by 20. If I move to that view that we were looking at before, you can see it's drawn on the top edge of that rectangle, of that cube. Okay, all right, now I've actually still got this center points rectangle tool selected, but what I want to actually do, say for example you forgot to put one of these measurements on. Say for example you clicked and you clicked again. Let's do another one now where I've clicked and I clicked again and then maybe I hit escape or I went to a different tool or something like that. Now this cube doesn't have a strict measurement to it. You can tell that because it's blue. If it has a strict measurement to it, it's black. Okay, that's why this one here, where you can see it has the 20 with the line showing how long it is, it's a black cube all the way around, whereas here with a blue cube, this is kind of an undefined measurement. We know it's moving out from the center point just like the other one was, but we don't know how big it is exactly. There's no measurement put on it. Okay, what I can actually do is go to my measuring tool here. This one at the top here, it's near the very far right of the 2D tools here. Dimension tool. You can hit D on your keypad as the fast way to get to it as well. This is the tool that's going to measure points for me. So I can essentially click on 2 points and it will tell me how far it is between those 2 points. So I'm going to use that to actually measure this line. I'm going to go this corner to this corner and it's going to show me how long it wants to be. So it wants me to simply plot that measurement down onto the ground first, and then it gives me a chance to edit it. So let's say I only wanted it to be, didn't want it to be 10.765, whatever it was. I want to make it exactly 10, and I simply just type in 10. And now you can see these lines have become black, and these ones are still blue. I'm going to click from this point to this point now, and do the same thing. So that one was 7.29503. I'm going to make it exactly 10. Okay, and I've hit enter. And now I'm going to just click on escape on my keyboard. So I'm going to go straight back to the white mouse here. And there we go. There's our rectangle. Okay, we've got a square within a square drawn on top of a cube. Okay, I'm actually happy with that sketch now. So I'm going to click the tick box. Okay, now what I can do now, I can actually go to I'm back on my 3D tools. I can go up to my extrude tool now, and I can extrude this section of my drawing straight up, but notice it's not up the top here, it's not a new object, it's an add. I'm adding to an existing object, okay? Before, in the last video when I made the cube, it was a new object. This one is an add, so it's not going to be listed as a new part. It's going to be listed as part of part 1, okay? So it's going to be as an add, and I'm going to make it come up, let's make it come up 30 millimeters. Okay, I'm going to click tick. Okay, so now we've got like a little handle with a hollowed center to the handle coming through there like that, and it's still part of part 1. Okay, all right, now that's interesting if we wanted to extrude out of a shape, but what if we wanted to cut into a shape? All right, let's go ahead and do another sketch on the top face of this cylinder. Let's click sketch, and we're going to click on the top of this cylinder. Okay, all right, cool. I'm going to arrange my view so again I'm looking straight down on the cylinder now. Okay, now this time I'm going to try and make quite an irregular shape, and I'm not going to use the rectangle or the circle tool. I'm actually just going to use the line tool this time. I'm going to draw just segments of lines together and show you that you don't have to have a set and uniform shape. Okay, so let's say I wanted to make let's make sort of a jigsaw puzzle looking piece. So I'm going to come up from the center here. This is the center of our circle here, center of our cylinder. That's the origin point. I'm going to move up from it straight up from that point, and I'm going to click, and then I'm going to simply drag across, and you'll notice I know I'm doing a straight line because it's giving me those dotted lines over the top. If I let that drop down, I can do any sort of angle that I want. But if I want it to be 90 degrees from a plane, then I'm just going to follow that angle there with the dotted line. Click down, and I'm going to tell it, okay, I want it to be 10 millimeters long. And I've still got this little tail attached, okay? So I'm going to come down, again, I'm going to go another 10 millimeters. And then I'm going to come this way, I'm going to move it 5 millimeters. And I'm going to come down, and I'm going to make this one 15 millimeters. and then I'm going to come across, and I'm going to finish right here. That's perpendicular with that line there, and you'll notice here it's told me that's exactly 15 millimeters across. From where I started here to this point here that was in line with the origin is 15 millimeters. I don't want to change that size, so instead of typing right now, I'm not going to type, I'm just going to hit escape. Okay, and I'm going to leave that line blue. Okay, and leave it blue. Now, I've got this shape drawn on here, but it's not a complete shape. It's not a complete it's an open-ended shape is what I'm trying to say. So I need to close this point and this point off. So I'm going to actually do that with a curve. I'm going to go over here to the 3-point arc. Now there are a few different types of arcs, but I'm just going to use the simple 3-point one for now. And I'm going to click on this point here, and I'm going to click on the opposite point where I want to finish, and then I'm going to decide how much of an arc I want it to be. Okay, so let's say I want my arc to be about that size there, and you can see the radius of the arc now is 12.5 millimeters. That's a nice round number. I think I'm going to leave it like that. So instead of changing that measurement, I'm just going to hit escape and leave that measurement as it is. Okay, so now I've got this sort of odd, irregular type shape, and I've used that line tool and the arc tool to create that. But I'm happy with that shape now, so I'm going to click tick. And I'm going to go back to my original view just here. You can see that sketch drawn on the top there. This time, I want to cut a hole that shape through my cylinder. So let's go up here to, again, we're going to use the extrude tool again. But again, we're not going to make it a new extrude. We're not going to make it an add extrude. We're going to make it a remove extrude. Okay, so this time it's a remove extrude, and we need to just click on the thing we want to remove, faces and sketches regions to extrude. We're going to extrude this one, and it's going to cut down. It's cutting down at the moment 25 mil deep. Okay, so cutting in 25 mil deep. Now my cylinder is actually 100 millimeters deep, so I want to actually cut down all the way through. Let's say I want to cut all the way through. You'll notice here, underneath the sketch, underneath the face that you're doing the extrude for, it's got the word blind. The word blind refers to the type of hole. So if it's a hole where there's a bottom to the hole, then it's considered a blind hole. Okay, but if I want that hole to go all the way through, I just need to change that blind to a through all hole. And now you'll see there's no flaw in that hole. It goes all the way through. And if I click this tick now, and I change my angle, if I look underneath, you can see that hole cut all the way through. Okay, so in this tutorial, we've learned how to add to an existing object. We've learned how to draw a sketch on a plane of an object, and we've also learned how to cut a hole or do a remove through an object. Okay, and that's all we've got for basics number 2. Thanks for watching, guys.